Hey guys, I just want to quickly talk about Code Vein, some of my first impressions and some of the concerns I have. I'm really liking the aesthetic direction of this game, particularly in the cinematics. The color palette and music, everything just blends together really well to convey an atmosphere that I'm totally digging. I'm feeling it. In contrast, I thought I was going to really like Neo, especially because it was feudal Japan and I really got a hard on for that. You know, every movie I watch is a samurai movie. I used to always play Tenchu. However, that game, there was something about the art direction that I just could not connect with, so I sort of fell off. I never completed the game. But I highly doubt I'm going to have that same problem with Code Vein. I was immediately liking the game from the way it starts off with the character customization, which, you know, everyone's always talking about and it's kind of beat to death, but it is literally the most comprehensive character customization in gaming. It honestly makes Soul Calibur have to check itself. Starting off on character customization, I was kind of shocked because it looked very bare bones, to be honest. There was only a few faces and very few hairstyles, and there was, for some reason, millions of eyebrows, but other options seem to be lacking on the surface. But after you make your initial character, you start to recognize that the depth that's really being afforded to you. You can go in there and tweak hair and do everything and add parts. You're really just putting down a base layer at the start, and then you can just do whatever the fuck you want with it. I've kind of seen other people say that character customization in itself is not enough to sell Code Vein, that it needs a real strength to stand on its own legs. But you know, I kind of beg to differ, because I think it was the character customization in itself that made me so connected to my character. By the time that the first cutscene started, I was already invested. It was like my child, so I was interested in knowing where the story went, and I was interested in seeing my character in more cutscenes. And honestly, it's gonna sound weird as shit, but I wanted more cutscenes, you know? I was kind of let down that there weren't more. I thought that I was gonna get a few more to see before the demo was over, but it was, you know, I guess I'm gonna have to pay for the full retail version. And I don't play a game to watch cutscenes, although I did beat Metal Gear Solid 4 times. So I don't know, that's kind of contradictory right there when you think about it. I think the character creation is so good that it makes people invested, and they're gonna go and create a character and want to see the game through to the end. And I think that that's gonna create a passionate group of people who really love Code Vein. So I think people shouldn't undersell the value of character creation. And as long as the gameplay is tight, there shouldn't be any issues, and there shouldn't be any reason why a game needs to be innovative or add to the genre. I think with that character creation and its unique aesthetic, it has a place, and I don't think anyone can take that away from the game. How does it play? It does play a little clunky. I would say it's strange because it feels somewhere between clunky and fluid. It's like clunky fluidity, if that makes any sense. It kind of reminds me of Dark Souls 1, Demon Souls, only there's no weight to the characters whatsoever. I feel like when you're rolling and stuff like that, there's no physics. Like you don't believe that this is a living being who's doing a roll. There's no heft to the movements. Kind of like when you use bigger weapons, they move slower, but they don't feel heavier. That said, people who enjoy Souls-like genre, we don't get many games, you know. If we're lucky, we'll get one a year. So when a game comes out and is able to match the fundamentals needed to be a part of the genre, I think it's going to appeal to people who like these types of games. And because there's scarcity, I don't think beggars should be choosers. And I think that if you're curious about this game, you owe it to yourself to go and try it. And if you can't try it because you don't have a demo available to you, like if you're playing on the PC or something, just buy it. It's a shot in the dark, but you know, it is fundamentally a Souls-like game, and it plays a lot like a Souls. So you don't really have to worry. If you think the aesthetic looks appealing to you and you already like Souls games, you're gonna probably like this game too. But there are things that are kind of warning signs and things that I'm a little concerned about while I was playing this demo. And I'm not sure if it's just because this is a demo. Hitboxes. or should I say shit boxes. The hitboxes in this game are really random at times. I would say that they work 90% of the time, but the last 10% they kind of do whatever the fuck they want. And it's really hard for me to explain that to you, because like it's kind of like a dice roll. You could play for an hour and a half and not really experience it, or you can play and experience all of this shit like within 20 minutes. And more often than not, it's you who can't hit other characters. You can be hit very easily by the enemy almost at all times, although sometimes their attacks will also go through you. But usually when there's an issue with the hitbox, it's your attacks not registering on the enemy. I also have an issue with your followers and people, you know, I think that's what they're called. I don't really remember. Your partner, your follower, whatever. Those guys, first of all, they never shut up, which is pretty annoying, and I couldn't wait to get rid of those chumps and just kind of solo this shit. But I'm sure there's going to be parts of the game that you're stuck with them, because this is a story-driven game, so there's going to be times where you're probably forced to play alongside them. And I think you're going to be limiting yourself to playing with Mia, the chick with the Russian hat, because those other dudes, some of them have got big ass weapons, and when you're in a tight corridor, that weapon obscures your view. You can't see anything in front of you, so you end up just closing your eyes and just swinging like a madman trying to kill what's in front of you, because Joe Schmo back there got this big ass weapon in front of your face. You can't see, and that's a big problem. Another issue is that those followers are also OP. They're so strong. They're like killing everything. There were 2 times where my follower destroyed the boss before I even knew what I was doing. I went in there, you know, spirits were high. I'm gonna learn on this guy's attack patterns. I'm gonna try to dodge and figure him out. So I'm dodge, boom, he's dead. Why? The follower wrecked him. You know, that's crazy. That shouldn't be happening. That follower needs to be toned down, because that's inexcusable right there. Although I'm kind of concerned in general. I heard that this game was supposed to be hard. I don't know if it's the build right here that, you know, it's a demo. They mean to sell the game, you know, they're trying to appeal to people, but, or if these are just like scrubs that we're facing. But this game is incredibly easy. Everything about the game seems easy. It's very accessible. Getting backstabs and counters, everything, parry, it's all incredibly simple to do. Once you learn the timing, it's so simple. More so than in Souls games, because the window for parrying is really wide. But speaking about parrying, that brings me to another issue, which is cutscenes that play are way too long. So that in itself would kind of police you from being a parry king, because when you start playing this game, you're gonna get really tired of watching that long ass cinematic every time you land a parry, and you're gonna land lots of parries. Now here's where the strength of the game hurts it as well, I think, because the character creation that gives you so much depth and options, I think, is kind of the reason why the game is all fucked up. When you do these parries and stuff, your character's flipping out. You see assets just juggling on their faces and popping in and popping out, and just, it's a mess. And so I'm not sure if that's because this is a demo or what, if that can be patched or what. But for me personally, it's not going to be a big deal, but other people, that's going to mess them up. They're going to not like seeing that. A lot of people hate pop-in and shit like that. Another issue is the AI is kind of retarded. You could stand right in front of it, and these enemies, they won't even notice you. Konami had this shit covered in Metal Gear 1, man. Metal Gear 1 and PS1, these little pixel men walking around. Huh? Whose footprints are these? But they can see you, man. These guys, you could stand right in front of them and you will not be noticed. It's really strange how close you can get to these enemies without them aggroing. And I think it's kind of immersion breaking. Lastly, and the most game breaking, I think that there is a spot, like a G spot, when you're fighting an enemy. If you roll, or if you stand, or you approach them in a certain way, that it actually disables their AI. They just freeze. And it happens the most with this big guy right here. I've been able to do this 6 times to enemies in this game, and 3 of them were this guy. If you approach him in a certain way, he will go blank and his AI will just drop. And you can walk all around him, and as long as you don't touch him, you could even stab him right in the back. And this is not to do with him sitting and eating that, he's eating when you find him. It has nothing to do with that, because I have aggroed him and we're fighting and I roll and roll and roll. I was doing it to learn their attacks, so I keep doing that nonstop, and after I roll enough, and it's like he just freezes and then he forgets that we were fighting. So that's something that might affect other enemies in the game as well. And I wonder if like all these enemies secretly have a button that you can press where you could just disable them. And hopefully this gets fixed. Yeah, okay, I'm done with this. Overall, really like this game. I'm gonna buy it. I want to say that while Dark Souls 2 is a game that people, it's a highly contentious entry in the series where you either love it or hate it, and there's always discussion on it. At least Dark Souls 2 stood on the shoulder of giants, Demon Souls and Dark Souls, so they could get away with more. However, a game like Code Vein needs to come correct for its first outing. As of right now, Code Vein is showing a few potential sins, and that's not good, and I'm worried about it. I would really like Code Vein to become a new series within the genre, and I want it to succeed, so hopefully they figure a way to patch some of these out.